My bees were peaceful. My land was quiet. My life was mine. Then the HOA queen invited 500 strangers onto my property. She forged my signature to steal my land for her campout. So I opened every hive I owned and watched her empire collapse. I'm Maggie Sullivan, 42. A beekeeper on 5 acres bordering Cedarbrook Estates outside Asheville. My grandfather left me this land debt-free, untouched by any homeowners association rules or fees. Vivian Cross ran Cedarbrook's HOA like a queendom, fining neighbors for garden gnomes and unmowed lawns. Vivian hated that my land sat outside her control, a stubborn gap in her perfect kingdom. One June morning, a survey crew showed up on my property without notice or explanation. HOA business. The foreman shrugged, waving papers with Vivian's looping signature scrawled across them. I called Vivian directly. She claimed my land was unofficially part of Cedarbrook's shared green space. Everyone assumes it's community land, she said sweetly. You should be honored, Maggie. 2 weeks later, flyers appeared around town. Cedarbrook Family Campout. 500 guests welcome. The flyer listed my exact address, my pasture, my orchard, as the official camping grounds. I marched to the HOA office, flyer shaking in my hand, demanding answers from Vivian. She smiled behind her desk, sipping tea like I was a toddler throwing a tantrum. It's for charity, Maggie. Surely you're not that selfish about a little grass. I told her plainly. No permission was given, and no campers were setting foot here. Vivian's smile thinned. The paperwork says otherwise. Check the county records if you don't believe me. My stomach dropped. County records? She wouldn't dare falsify anything that serious, would she? I drove straight to the county office, heart pounding, praying this was just a bluff. The clerk pulled a land use amendment, dated 3 months back, bearing what looked like my signature. I never signed that document. My hands were shaking as I stared at the forgery. That night, I sat on my porch, watching my bees drift lazily between the fading wildflowers. My neighbor Russ, an old beekeeper friend, brought over cornbread and quiet, steady reassurance. Karen's like her overreach eventually, he said. Let her build the noose herself. I decided to wait, document everything, and let Vivian's ambition write her own downfall. Within days, Vivian posted the campout publicly, tagging local news pages for maximum attention. She bragged about reclaiming underused land for the community in a glowing local interview. Volunteers began clearing brush along my fence line, unaware or uncaring that it was theft. I photographed everything, the forged signature, the flyers, the volunteers trespassing across my boundary markers. I hired a lawyer who confirmed the signature was fabricated and the amendment fraudulent. This is criminal forgery, he said. But litigation takes months. The campout is in 10 days. Vivian, meanwhile, ordered beautification crews to mow my wildflower meadow, my bees' only food source. I found 3 hives crushed under tractor tires, thousands of bees dead in the wreckage. Something in me went quiet and cold, the way it does right before a storm breaks. I called animal control, the county sheriff, everyone. Vivian simply claimed the mower wandered accidentally. The sheriff shrugged, calling it a civil matter between neighbors, not worth his time yet. Vivian smirked at me across the fence. 10 days. Maggie. 500 people are coming. You could just let this happen gracefully, she added. Or you could be that difficult woman. I looked past her toward my remaining 12 hives, humming quietly in the summer heat. 3 days before the campout, Vivian sent a bulldozer crew to prep the camping field. They flattened my herb garden, my grandfather's tool shed, without a single permit or apology offered. I stood in the wreckage, and for the first time, I stopped trying to be reasonable. I called every beekeeping contact I had. 20 hives arrived from 3 counties within 2 days. Vivian, oblivious, posted a countdown online. Cedarbrook campout, 3 days until family fun. She hired a photographer to document her generous community leadership for a regional magazine feature. I quietly registered every hive with the county apiary board, establishing legal protected bee yards. State law required a documented buffer zone around registered hives, 50 feet. No exceptions. My property, thanks to Vivian's own campsite plan, now sat entirely inside that mandatory buffer. I sent Vivian one final, polite email. You may want to reconsider the camping location. She replied with a single laughing emoji, forwarding it to the entire Cedarbrook resident group. The campout and Vivian's forged land grab were now on an irreversible collision course. Friday evening, tents rose across my meadow, coolers stacked, children racing through the tall grass. I stood at my fence line with the county apiary inspector, forged documents in hand. Once campers cross that buffer, she said, every violation becomes documented, time-stamped, and legally binding. Vivian strutted through the crowd in a bright red blazer, greeting neighbors like visiting royalty. A local reporter, tipped off earlier that week, quietly set up a camera near the entrance. My hands trembled, not from fear now, but from years of being underestimated by women like her. Russ squeezed my shoulder. You didn't start this, Maggie. You're just finishing it honestly. At exactly 7 o'clock, as promised in my email, I walked toward the hive enclosures. I unlatched the first gate, then the second, my heart steady despite the noise around me. 20 hives opened almost simultaneously, bees rising in a slow, golden, humming cloud overhead. Panic rippled through the campsite as guests spotted the swarm drifting toward the tents. Vivian screamed for order, but her campout marshals were already sprinting toward their cars. Coolers overturned, tents collapsed. Children cried as parents scooped them up and fled. A local news van captured every second, zooming in on Vivian swatting wildly at the air. The reporter's drone footage showed the entire meadow, chaos spreading from Vivian's own campsite. Vivian tripped over a fallen cooler, landing hard in the mud beside her forged flyers. "Call the sheriff," she shrieked, mascara running, blazer stained, dignity thoroughly abandoned. The sheriff arrived, this time with the county apiary inspector and my forgery documents ready. The inspector explained the legal buffer zone, proving Vivian's campsite illegally invaded protected hive land. My lawyer produced the fraudulent land amendment, matching Vivian's handwriting to a dozen other forged HOA files. Turns out this wasn't her first forged signature. 3 other residents' land had been reclaimed too. The reporter's footage, forgery evidence, an inspector's report went viral within 24 hours online. Cedarbrook's HOA board held an emergency vote, removing Vivian as president that same week. Vivian faced formal fraud charges, ordered to pay restitution for my tool shed, garden, and hives. My land, bees, and reputation recovered fully, while Vivian's name became Cedarbrook's cautionary legend. These days, my hives thrive undisturbed, and no one questions whose land this truly is. The END.